probably waiting for the pizzas, right? So we'll try to keep the talk short bit. But just before we start, how many of you are students here? Okay, quite a handful. So I have been asked to say this, but so the thing is that yeah, so the thing is that there's a program by Microsoft called Microsoft Learn Student Ambassadors, which was initially called Microsoft Student Partners, if you know. So it's a program for students. If you are a student, you can participate. The responsibility is to go and educate about Microsoft technologies, obviously, like Azure or any other specific domain. So if you are interested, we can obviously talk later. So I am actually a Gold Microsoft Student Ambassador. So we can connect and talk more about it. But more information you can check on studentambassadors.com is the website. So you can go and check out there.
Only for students?
Yeah, as, as of now it's only for students, but this is just to let you know. So moving on with the topic, how many of you here know about what VR is, what AR is, or what MR is? Quite a few, okay. Yeah, so things will keep it a bit light, introductory type of talk, because I don't want people going and saying on LinkedIn that I'm thrilled to attend a talk. I want that you take some key takeaways from here. Maybe go and read more about it and then post it on LinkedIn, or maybe like ask a question there, because it would make more sense rather than just posting the ChatGPT generated content, right? So this is the brief agenda that we'll be covering today. Also, there would be a few memes. So in case, I hope no one gets offended, but in case you do, so I hope there's Instagram in your mobile so you can just watch the reels at that time. But I hope so. It is a bit lighthearted. So I hope no one will get offended. But moving on. I think Amtula summarized most of the bit about me, but I try to give intro things which are constant rather than saying like I'm a software engineer at so and so company, right? The companies change, designation changes. I think these are the things which stays constant. Apart from the above four, the last one which you see, that's kind of like I do when I'm alone. So if you see, so if I'm sitting alone and if you see me talking, don't think like I'm eligible to go to a mental hospital. Manasik chikitsalaya, but that's me giving an imaginary TED talk. So, but anyway, it's all about me. Basically, I was just trying to say using that I have a bit of experience in this domain. I jumped directly into it, so I know what all problems are there which people might face. So I try to give talks like these so that people know like what is the correct step or how you should get started with, right? So basically, just I'm trying to say this. But I want to start here with two statements, out of which the first one is obviously I went to exhibition in one of the colleges in Pune. So there they were doing some stuff, putting on that VR headset. So obviously I went there, and the first question they asked me was like, "What am I doing here? What my expectations are?" And I just went there, just seeing them doing the VR stuff, and they asked me like, "What do you think? Like, what do you know about VR, AR, MR?" And obviously I said like, it's the same thing, right? I mean, because that's how it is marketed or shown, that everything is same. It's something you do putting on device, and I said this. But when I said that, basically I was just trying to say that they are same. But when I said that, he automatically wore his headset again and started working again to back whatever he was doing. But by that I realized that I said something wrong, and I was just trying to I'm a newbie, so maybe I don't know that much. He said, okay. So he tried giving me this explanation on Wikipedia, but if you want to just know, so reality is based on this whole scale. The more you come towards the virtual side, then it is called virtual environment, and the more you go towards real environment, then it is called real environment or augmented reality, but somewhat in between. If you do mixture of both, it's called mixed reality. And obviously, I didn't understand, and I hope you might not have also. If you have, then it's great. But if you didn't, my reaction was this. After hearing that explanation, I didn't complete the last part, obviously. Um, but hence, I went ahead and created my own explanation after reading a lot of blogs and videos. So, augmented reality is something when you try to deal with real life things. Let's say you have, like in the example, if you see, that's like an IKEA application where they allow you to place your furnitures before purchasing them in your home and see like how they might look. So that aspect is called more of augmented reality. And virtual reality is something when you get occluded from your current environment and you go to another virtual environment where you cannot see anything. So basically, I don't know if you know that game. It's called Beat Saber. So in that you are completely uprooted from your current environment and you can't see anything, and you can obviously play that game. And then when you combine both of these two worlds, then comes your mixed reality where you can say, let's say, you placed a virtual ball on a physical table, and then when it falls down, it bounces off that table and then uh, bounces to the floor also. So it's basically the combination of both. Where you are actually interacting with VR, but in a real world, right? So this definition actually summarizes to this, like when you combine both VR and AR, then it turns to MR, right? So remember the first statement which I said, like all of them are same. So that's obviously not correct, and the correct statement is that VR plus AR equals to MR. Or some people might say XR. You might have heard people saying XR. So that X in R is like a variable. So where you can replace X with V, A, or M. So whenever someone talks about XR, it can be about VR or AR or MR. So XR also abbreviates for extended reality. So sometimes you might hear people saying that. So I think like people might know this. So in case someone tells it's about XR, so it might be about VR, AR, or MR. Like today's topic is about WebXR. So but it's specifically about AR out of these three realities. Okay. And the second statement is usually people say is that we don't have a supported device to try out VR or AR or MR. Obviously, developers saw this problem, and they thought of like we are a developer, right? So we will also try to figure out something. That's how they brought the topic of WebXR. So I mean, if I tell you what WebXR is, WebXR in more technical terms, it's a JavaScript API using which it helps you to simulate the same VR environment which you might see on your devices or your mobile in your browser. So there you can experience the same thing. Why WebXR? As I said, like this talk is about AR on the web, but why AR on the web? Why do we need that, right? We can do it from phone. You saw that IKEA application, right? So we can do it from our phone also, but why do we need it on the web? Obviously, the first reason can be there's no need to install an app. If you do it on browser, it's device friendly, cross-platform, because again, the browser is everywhere on any platform, let it be mobile phone or a laptop or a PC or a tablet, right? And one of the most important thing, like if you try to publish like an app on Play Store or Apple Store, you need to pay a certain fee or maybe a commission or any other business model which they have. So it saves you from that aspect. You can go and publish your app openly on the web. Um, so how do we do this? So there's a JavaScript library called 3JS, using which you can render your 3D objects in your browser. Obviously, it's based on WebGL. WebGL is also an API by JavaScript, using which you can actually render your 3D, let's say, cube or a 3D sphere or 3D cylinder, which I'll show more in the demo. But the library which uses is 3JS. And as it's a JavaScript library, so the code you need to write is in JavaScript. So if you are very good with JavaScript, you can go ahead and start with 3JS. But there's something called as A-Frame. It's based on 3JS. So it gives you a flexibility of trying component-based system. So as it's written there, it's an entity component system where every game object, let's say a car and there's a wheel for it, so that wheel will have its own property, which you can define using entities. Um, and it gives you the flexibility, like if you're not that much familiar with JavaScript and you're more familiar with, let's say, React or any other framework or HTML, just HTML, you can go ahead and try A-frame, which will give you, a component structure, like you write select or any other form tag, right? So it gives you the flexibility to write your code in tag forms. So um, speaking more about A-frame, as I said, it's an entity component. So if you see, it's a tag here called A entity, and there are certain attributes added to it, which are obviously ID, geometry, and material. So every component or every part of these define its properties. Like if it's a sphere, so what should be its ID, what should be the color it should have, and what should be the position in the world. Because obviously it's a 3D world, so there are like 3 axes on which you need to calibrate your positions. So X, Y, and Z axis in that order. Um, and now that once these were done, there was one more JavaScript library which got introduced. It's called ar.js. What it does is, so it's obviously an abstraction of a toolkit called as JSAR toolkit. It's also a library based on that. The feature that it gives is like image tracking. So image tracking is something, let's say in the morning when you checked in here, so you had to check in or you had to show an identity that you are registered for this meetup, right? So similarly, whenever a camera tries to scan an environment, it looks for that ID on which it should display those 3D objects. Let's say if you're saying there should be a sofa whenever a certain image is displayed, so it will look for that image and then only show the sofa if you are trying to do that way. So that's something sort of image tracking. Location based here, if you might have seen the latest Google I/O videos, so they have quite improved on this. So you can just open Google Maps and scan around your location, and then accordingly it will show whether you need to go left or right or something more interactive elements. So ARJS gives you that capability. And simple marker, let's say you are in let's say when you enter the office and you need to know that where you need to go next, and there are certain QRs assigned or QR marked there, after which when you scan it and you can see if something gets overlaid on it. So ARJS gives you obviously that capability, and that unique ID or that ID which camera scans for is called marker. So whenever a marker is displayed or recognized by the camera, it will try to overlay or show anything which you have obviously coded in your code, and using that it will show the virtual objects on it. Or if you are native interactive, so that way it will work, right? Obviously, as I said, most of you might have come here to see the demo, because talks you can obviously get it online, but demo is something which I'll try to show. Okay. And as I said, it's you don't need actually an let's say any installation or anything needed. This is just VS Code, and if you see, the extension is also HTML, so there's no any fancy code involved here. The only extension I'll use is the live server, just to host the HTML page. So I think it might have started. Okay. Let me first start with very basic things. As you can see, there's the A-frame library included here. So it's obviously working on that CDN thing. You also have the option of cloning it locally and then using it. But I thought of keeping it simple, using CDN in it. And as I displayed in the slide, that it can be done just on the basis of tag. So in this, if you see, there's a tag called AC. It starts and ends here, and inside that you have different A box or A sphere or cylinder based on different shapes. Also, you also have a plane, you also have a sky, and or you can just give an entity and then specify what type of shape do you want in it. So just let's see how does it look. Yeah. So if you see things which we specified here, right, the box, of this size, and so if I go more on color, so there's a cylinder of this color. So if you see, there's a cylinder of yellow color. If you want, we can try. So, and yeah, so see, and as I said, like it's on the basis of 3GS. 3GS is the base for all of this. So 3GS helps you to render all of these 3D components in your web environment. And if you might wonder, like, where does the 0, 0, 0, 0 the position starts? It's always wherever the camera looks first. That point is 0, 0, not the point where like the topmost corner of the browser. Right? It's wherever the camera looks first. So you see the positions are around 0, 0. The positions are around 0, 0. That's why you see these elements here. In case you would have changed it, like if you would have made it too far, then you might not have seen it in the camera, right? So, but these are simple boxes. There's one more way called as I don't know if you know, but usually 3D models have different formats. One of the very popular format is called GLTF. It's called Graphics Library Transmission Format. So it's one of the formats in which you export your 3D model designed in one of the softwares, let's say Maya or any other fields, any other 3D rendering softwares. So you can actually display here too. So I'll just comment these, by default 3D objects in this, and I'll try to, let's say, there's a website called Sketchfab from where you can download 3D models, obviously in the GLTF format. So I have tried downloading one, and if you see, this is a folder and there's a scene.gltf in it, and as long as it has all of these things, obviously license is not needed, but as long as it has all of those things, it will try to render the 3D model which was designed for it, right? And as I said, like I didn't design this; it was available on the website. So if you know 3D modeling, or if someone knows 3D modeling, you can ask them to design, and it's very simple to import it in your browser. Alright, so this is something just displaying it, and the next thing which I was talking about is, let's say if you recognize a marker and then you need to display something on it, right? So again, if I just go yeah, it should start my camera. So as I have written here that in the scene, that scene part is the same, but if you see here, there's a tag called marker. So obviously, whenever marker tag is added, it will try to look for that marker via the camera. So this preset hero is the default format using which like it will look for a specific marker. I'll just try to open it. So if I have the picture of it, but yeah, it somewhat looks like this. This is the default marker. I'll try to show it in the camera. So this is how it looks. And if you see, there's a box on it, right? So if we go back to the code, so in the marker, it was written that a box should be displayed whenever the marker is recognized. But let's say if you want to display the Google logo which you saw in the start, right? So I'll comment that out and comment this. And it's the same thing how we imported it here, a entity in the first file. So similarly, we just need to add it inside the marker tag. So automatically, whatever is added in the marker tag, it will show whenever that marker is recognized. And let's go back and try again. And so if I do this, yeah, there's that Google logo which you saw in the first file. There's one more thing which I want to show. Like I thought of customizing it a bit for React Mumbai. And if you see, it's the same thing. There's the same marker. This is a custom marker rather than the default marker, the hero marker which you saw. And there's the Gateway of India one, very basic. Obviously, it was for free, so I can get like a very detailed 3D model of Gateway of India. That's kind of it. Kind of looks like it. So if I'll just try to open the React Mumbai logo. Yeah. So I mean, before if you need like a custom marker to display something, you need to train that this would be the marker on which you need to display that 3D object. So that using ARJS, you can do this. That will show that whenever this marker is recognized, you need to display a particular logo on it or a particular 3D object on it. And if I go back and scan the React Mumbai logo, so there's this gateway. As I said, like it's a very basic rendered 3D model of Gateway of India. So it looks like that. Obviously, it wasn't a fancy one, so. But yeah, I tried keeping it very simple, as I said, right? I mean, I want you to keep it very intro level stuff, so that you go back and explore more. And then if you have questions, you can definitely ask. So if we move ahead, I just kept this, as backup, but this is somewhat what you will see because I wasn't able to screen share my phone screen. But if you scan from your phone, if you open the camera and see that default marker, so in this video it was coded that it should display that 3D object whenever that marker comes into the view of the camera, right? So that was it. And I also want to always put out one thing, because people usually think that development is the only way you can contribute to domains like AR or VR or MR. There are many other careers options on the software side of the things and hardware side of the things, both. So I mean, if you are interested in software, you can obviously go for things like wireframing design or 3D modeling design, right? You saw the Gateway of India logo, right? So if you're interested more into 3D designing and all, you can go ahead and download that logo and maybe modify it a bit using one of the 3D softwares. Maya is one of them, Blender is one of them. So you can use these softwares to create it. There's obviously you might have seen nowadays in Snapchat or Instagram, there's something called as filter or lens, right? So that is also completely based on augmented reality feature. So whenever you open the phone and it scans that there's a face recognized in it, so it will try to display those, let's say a glass or a filter or something like that, right? So I think Snapchat provides you that option. Then Facebook also has something called as Meta. I'm forgetting the name, but it's something similar, using which you can create these lenses. And obviously, it's up to you. Some people try to put it like a paid lens. So whenever someone uses it, they need to pay a certain fee, and that's how they earn money. And but if you're more interested in the hardware side of the things, so the headsets which you see, one of the very popular MR or mixed reality headset was HoloLens by Microsoft, and nowadays you might have heard about the Apple Vision Pro. Yeah. So thank you. So Vision Pro, right? So it works on a bit different technology. It's not exactly VR. It's not exactly AR or MR. But it works in sort of it scans your environment first, and then it displays you the same format. It's similar to like you're watching it something from a CCTV, and then you're watching the preview or the recording of it. So similarly, on that concept, Vision Pro is based off. But these are the devices. If you are interested, on the hardware side, you can look more on the firmware things or the hardware side of things. So, and obviously, if you get into the domain, you'll explore yourself only that what there are more career options or something like that. Yeah, I mean, this is just a very basic code, and the reason to put this code is because, as I said, right, this field seems very overwhelming. So people just try to uh, dive into it and see that obviously this is exciting, so I'll try it out. But the thing that happens is that when you go and see that there are various development languages involved, various factors involved, people try to get lost in that journey and to say this domain is very difficult and not my cup of tea. The thing is, if you go the correct way, obviously step by step, and not by seeing like you'll also develop those lenses which you see on Snapchat or something. if you try from very basic, then obviously you get it on the correct path. So that's the reason I add this quote, and there's no other like Vitushko that I know very much. And I think it's obviously visa time. So as I said, like when I showed them, like I displayed this context, these many things. So obviously they asked me to keep it short. So yeah, that's it. As I said, like if you have any questions or any comments rather than just saying that I was thrilled to attend the React Mumbai meetup. So you can just search. I think it works if you search like Faizan Akhtar on Google. So my portfolio should be the first one coming up, and from there you can obviously get my socials and everything. So you can feel free to reach out to me. Feel free to say hi or something else. Obviously, it's a bit of self-flex, but all right. I think I don't know what people say here, but at least in Pune, people don't say thank you. Not like they don't say thank you; they say something else instead of thank you. So and that's on what I want to end my talk on is Mandal Aaple Abhari hai. Thank you so much for